Steve, what are you doing, man? Stop messing
My
with your
hair's
kids.
too wet. I can't do nothing.
Oh my God. Steve, Steven got a mullet.
I got a mullet.
I'm gonna grow my hair out next time.
Can you?
Yeah. Maybe put a little grease on it.
All right, good evening and welcome to Sporlitics, where sports and politics mix and mingle. I'm Stacey Johnson. Joining me tonight is Aguna, the Nigerian moderate Republican, Keith, the constitutional conservative, Stephen, the independent thinker, and my cousin Todd, who is always late.
Dang. So tired.
Supreme Court rules for parents seeking aid from religious schools. New rules on transgender swimmers are now in effect. The CDC recommends COVID-19 vaccines for children as young as 6 months, and their parents are allowing them to receive them. Serena Williams is back. Todd will be talking about tennis. The January 6th committee is building a case with many testimonies today, as state Republicans say former President Trump wanted them to break the law to keep him in power and to keep him in office. It's the 50th year anniversary of Title IX. We'll talk about how that has affected some women. Congratulations to the Warriors on winning the NBA championship. Have you voted today? If you live in Washington, D.C., Alabama, or Georgia, you've got some voting to do. The Tampa Bay Lightning won Game 3. Will they make a sweep and drink out of the big cup? Senators are very happy about a bipartisan breakthrough on gun safety legislation as the framework of the bill comes together, as they hope to pass it before July 4th holiday. That and more, if we can fit it in. First up, I think we'll go to the Warriors, and Aguna, you can discuss this, but let's watch this clip.
Blue and gold confetti rained from the sky as the 2022 NBA champions Golden State Warriors paraded down downtown San Francisco. Steph Curry proudly showed off his first Finals MVP trophy, while other players like Draymond Green and Klay Thompson raising the Finals trophy they won in previous years. Then there were other players like Jordan Poole and Gary Payton II who gamely sprayed the crowd with water guns and even went down their buses to greet the fans up close. Tens of thousands of fans lined up the famous Market Street, stood on barricades, and even climbed up trees and street signs to get a glimpse of their champions. This Filipino family from Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada, now residing in the Bay Area, caught the attention of Canadian-born Andrew Wiggins.
That's a really big honor for us because he's carrying the Canadian flag.
And these Pinoys got a selfie with Wiggins and were even featured on his Instagram story.
Great feeling. Right, thank you. Proud to be Filipino. There you go.
And the party continued several blocks away at District 6, an outdoor market and entertainment venue created by Philham entrepreneur Anthony Schlander.
So it means a lot to me that after the parade, there's about 1,000 people here. We're all celebrating, first, coming back together, second, the Warriors win, and man, it's just an amazing feeling.
The official Warriors hype man, Philan Franco Finn, says he was very proud of the Filipino turnout at the parade.
Man, that parade was 80% Filipino, I swear, in San Francisco. So whoever was there, thank you, salamat. For those who are international, thank you. Being the first and only Filipino hype man, I wear this on my shoulders, and this is for us.
75 years of the Warriors organization, this is their 7th title run. They had wins in Philadelphia, Oakland, and now in San Francisco. And the Bay Area is ready for more. I'm Mark Clark, ABS-CBN News in San Francisco.
Okay, Aguna, and we have a guest on the phone. Nas is joining us on the phone. You won't be able to see him,
Oh.
but you would be able to hear him.
Oh, wow. We need you. Oh, man. No, Ty, go ahead, Ty. Give him a hug. Give him a virtual hug, Ty.
I called the police already.
Go ahead, Aguna. And the Warriors.
Yes, the Warriors. Yeah, I mean, I don't like the Celtics, so I was happy when the Warriors won. And it's interesting. They used to be called the Philadelphia Warriors. He just mentioned there's 7 titles. I believe 2 of those titles were in Philadelphia when they were the Philadelphia Warriors. So, yeah, I mean, Steph Curry did his thing. I mean, Game 5, I thought Game 6. I thought Game 6, Boston was going to try to pull it out. But, Curry had, 34 points. Draymond Green, Klay Thompson stepped up. I mean, so you had a good spread of the wealth there to close out the series. And you kind of had the feeling that once Phoenix got put out, in the West, that the Warriors were going to be the team to beat. I was hoping the Sixers would at least made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, because I feel like they may have given Boston a little bit more of the run for their money, but of course we couldn't get by the Heat. So, I mean, it was a good finals, kind of predictable at this point. They got a lot of super teams in the NBA, but I was thinking that this series was going to go to 7. I mean, it just seemed like it was like a seesaw back and forth, especially in the first couple games, but the Warriors pulled it off. So, yeah, well-deserved. Steph Curry, again, you're going to have more conversations about him being the GOAT after this. This is his 3rd or 4th win. So yeah, I mean, and this is his first MVP. So yeah, he definitely carried a team to the championship, especially in the finals.
Steven.
Well, I needed it to go 7. I like Stephen Curry too. I don't care how he pronounces his name, but I was happy to see him win. But I really didn't need that. I really needed them to go to Game 7, and but that's okay. It was a good series. It was fun to watch. It was.
How much money did you bet?
A gentleman doesn't discuss his money.
He's asking you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, you can make an exception. Not enough to lose the house, but one of my tool sheds is gone.
Touche.
Okay, Nas.
Hopefully not the one with the guns in it.
No, they're underground.
Look, that's like the worst fan base in the NBA. I really can't stand their fans, especially the new Warrior fans, not the old Warrior fans who are always there. But like as an organization, they decided to spend money. Unlike a lot of other teams who were so worried about going over the tax threshold and having to pay the penalty, Golden State was willing to do it. So everybody thought they would get rid of Wiggins just because of cost cutting. But they ended up keeping him, and as like a secondary scorer next to Steph and everybody else, he was really, really good. So they did all of this without the rookie James Wiseman, who we may see next year. So they got a bright future ahead of themselves. Boston, even taking it to 6 is an accomplishment. They just got through with 2 Game 7s. They were kind of outgunned to a certain degree because they're young. So just getting to Game 6 to me was an accomplishment on their side. Steph Curry, of course, vindicated. He played well this final, so he doesn't have to hear all the chatter. But yeah, GOAT talk, no, we can't do that. Now, can he get into the top 10 talk? Yes, we can finally say Steph Curry has the resume of a top 10 player. But as far as like GOAT, it's a long way away from Mike and company all the way down to Steph. But he is not that second-tier star like people kind of used to look at him. But, it's great finals, great series. To all the people who tell us NBA is rigged, don't you think Adam Silver would have won in 7 games? Don't you think Adam Silver would have liked to be at the presentation? So yeah, please stop with your nonsense conspiracy theories. And Steven, as much as you get on my nerves, you made the right play. You bet on the underdog in the Celtics. That was the right move to make. So what? You weren't right. Do it again 100 times, and it'll pay off.
Yes.
Okay, Cousin Todd or Keith, did you want to say anything about the NBA champions? Did you want to congratulate the Warriors?
Sports brings together civility on the panel. Isn't that great?
Congratulations. Well, yeah, I was proud of the Flyers for winning that championship. And I hope next year they get 1,000 touchdowns. That's all.
All right. Your boring joke. And speaking of you and boring jokes, let's go here.
I was lucky enough to be on tour with her a little bit, and that she spoke to me a couple of times, and that she recognized me, that she knows my name. I'm talking like way before in 2017. She's such an inspiration, and the fact that we're playing doubles together, it's huge news for me, and it's unbelievable. I honestly never expected her to pick me or even to play doubles after a long time. But I feel like I'm going way back, and all the memories of watching her winning a lot of Grand Slams is hope I'm not gonna make me too nervous, standing next to her. Eric, Venus coach, he's with her. He asked my coach if I was playing here and if I would consider doubles. I don't know. I'm not a second to think about it. It's obvious yes. But yeah, I cannot wait to see her. I haven't seen her yet. Hopefully we'll get together and talk a little bit and see. Because I'm really pumped. I want to win this doubles, and why not win the title here?
So when we talk about tennis, Todd, he can't talk about, Coco Gauff. He can't talk about Venus Williams even. His whole world is Serena Williams. And you might as well just say Serena and Todd. But Cousin Todd, do you want to talk about, I said Serena and Todd. Cousin Todd, do you want to talk about Serena coming back and what that means, and why is she coming back in the middle? Where was she for the French Open? Is she going to retire like Gronk, or is she going to stay in it? What's going on?
I don't know. She feels healthy enough to come back, so she's coming back. Kind of like, what is that white guy, the old man? I think he's around 63 or something like that, and he's back in football again. What's his name?
Brady.
Well, whatever. Ask that about him. She feels healthy enough to come back, so she's coming back.
And she's
I
playing.
think she'll do well.
She's playing doubles only, Todd?
No, ma'am.
Okay. That's the impression I got from the thing.
Brick house. A brick house.
Okay,
Brick house. Wait, brick house. What does that mean?
Keith is being a misogynist.
It's a song from
what
the
does that
70s.
mean, brick house?
A song from the 70s. You're too young to understand, Todd.
Nas, you want to comment
I'm
on
not that
Cousin
old.
Todd and tennis?
Hey, save it for your wife. Your wife is going to get you, Keith.
That's what he wants.
Yeah. Go ahead, Nas.
No, the only thing I would say to Todd on that is the one difference would be the NFL doesn't mind if older players take certain things off the field, certain drugs. They tend to look the other way. While with the WTA and everybody else in tennis, Serena has to be careful, so it's really hard to do it as an aging player. So that would be the difference. Mr. Brady gets a shipment every month. Please believe it.
That's a conspiracy.
I know, it sounds like a conspiracy theory to me.
Yeah, that's a conspiracy.
Look at Aduna trying to get married to this duo.
Hey, all right, Todd, I'm trying to live up TT hour here. Todd and tennis. This TT hour, we're trying to liven it up for you. You're welcome.
We don't need any help.
Yeah, because guess what? I'm bored.
TT.
And
Todd
I
and
stole
tennis.
that from
Look at
Todd.
these
Todd
thieves.
always says that, and I stole it from him. I'm bored.
Yeah,
Hey,
look
but
at
look,
these
if you're willing to
thieves.
believe that a 49-year-old man is just drinking wheatgrass juice and eating fiber, and that's why he can play in the NFL, you go ahead and believe that. Sometimes children have to be told.
What about the magnets? What about the magnets in the rim in basketball? So we could believe that and not that.
Man, Vegas would beat the hell out of you for trying to put a magnet in any rim in basketball.
So they can, they're just that good.
How long did Kareem Abdul-Jabbar go? How old was he when he retired?
He's black.
Kareem was also 40 and shooting sky hooks and running up the court very slowly. That man is a quarterback.
See the difference?
All right, moving on. One of my favorite sports. Watch.
Good morning. How about that game inside this building for the Tampa Bay Lightning beating the Colorado Avalanche 6-2 in dominating fashion? And it's exactly what this squad had to do after getting throttled 7-0 on the road in Game 2. It was the worst performance ever in the postseason, and this squad answers back in a big way. First, let's talk about who wasn't here for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and that was Braden Point. He did not play in Game 3. He played in Game 1 and in Game 2. He was a game-time decision, did not suit up. Also, Nikita Kucherov left this game early, right in the third period, I should say, so he got to do all of his damage, but now we got to see how effective he is moving forward. But also the team got back to the fundamentals of what they do so well. First and foremost, they put shots on the net. Darcy Kemper had to leave the contest early. That's exactly what we have been asking the Lightning to do for so long. In Game 1, 23 shots. In Game 2, 16 shots. What is that? They put shots on the net. Kemper, of course, gave up a ton of goals, 5 before he actually was thrown out of the contest by his head coach. And then, the Bolts were able to score on the power play finally to make that 6th goal. Also, 6 different players scoring, showing a lot of range from everybody, and also just pushing the pace, staying aggressive. Now, if there's one thing this squad has to work on moving forward, because they have such a propensity to land in the penalty box, they have to get better on the penalty kill. I know Colorado's PP is elite. It is honestly in the 30+% right now of the postseason. That would be one of the best marks we have seen in league history. But nonetheless, they have to stay out of the box. And as long as they do that, you saw what happened last night. They did not give up an even strength goal. Andrei Vasilevsky, fantastic after having his worst performance ever in Game 2. People wondered how he would be. We asked the same questions after Game 1 in Toronto, Game 1 in New York. This guy is always someone who can dial in. He is now 20, 13, and 1 in the next game after giving up 5 goals the previous game. So what they have in net, the Tampa Bay Lightning, we always knew was going to be the difference maker in this series. It didn't matter in Games 1 and 2. It mattered last night, and now tomorrow they get to play the Colorado Avalanche and see if they can split this series up in similar fashion to what they did against the Rangers, and then head out to Denver on Friday and see if they can come home on Sunday and try to hoist the Stanley Cup again in front of their home fans. It will be the only route to do what they did last year, which they said was a remarkable experience.
Yeah. Okay, Guna, do you want to talk about Tampa Bay, or
do I have to? And so Tampa Bay is starting to become Boston South or something like that, where you got these guys going down there winning championship. They're going to be like the city of champions or whatever. Because last year the Bucks and the Lightning won a title, but yeah, I don't know any of these guys. I follow the Flyers. I don't know Karuchov, Marone, all these guys, But at the end of the day, again, it's finals hockey. We'll see what happens in the series. It looks like, they lost the first game to Colorado. I'm surprised Colorado's even in the finals, to be honest with you. I thought it was going to be a Canadian team. I thought Edmonton was going to do something. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Because, again, they need a Canadian champion to keep that market, engaged. Right. So, not to jump into any conspiracy theories, but, you see these different sports towns, hockey in Florida, you know what I'm saying? He got throw a couple championships down there, get a new fan base. You saw Vegas go to the finals a couple years ago. It's a new franchise trying to get them off the ground a little bit. So, yeah, it happens, right? So we'll see. We'll see. It would be nice for Tampa to go back-to-back, though. I think that would be good for the city.
So, Cousin Todd, I must tell you, one player on the Tampa Bay Lightning is Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, and he looks like he's African-American, so I thought you'd want to know that. Steven?
Yeah.
What did you think about it?
He had no shots on goal.
Avalanche won the first 2 games at home, and I got really excited about them. I was picking them to win, and then they went to Tampa Bay and lost pretty badly. Now they got to play in Tampa Bay again, and that makes me nervous. But it'll be tied up then, and then they split again, depends on how far it goes. I still like the Avalanche winning it all, but it's a good series. It's gonna be really tight, and I'm very tentative on my feelings about it because it could go either way. But I'm going Avalanche. I don't want Tampa Bay to win.
Oh man,
they got Stacy. There is plenty
Colorado.
Of black soccer players.
Okay, Nas, any comment on Tampa Bay and the Avalanche?
No, baseball's
Baseball. That's hockey.
I said
Same
baseball
difference.
is on right now. I'm watching baseball. Sorry, I
Oh, okay.
didn't want to comment.
Yeah,
All right,
you can't watch
Keith.
baseball until after the All-Star break.
Right. Keith, any comments before we move on?
No.
All right. Nas, did you want to
No,
talk
he
about?
doesn't know
You sure you
anything
don't
about
want to?
football.
Keith,
He
you
doesn't
don't want
know
to blame
anything
Hunter
about
Biden's
sports.
laptop? Hunter
Nas,
Biden's
did you want
laptop, or
Nas, did you want to talk about baseball and how good the Phillies are doing?
I don't think you want to have that conversation, Stacey. Things aren't going as planned in Philly, but good luck.
I mean, they've been actually winning a little bit, but it does not by much. I mean, they had a 9-game winning streak a couple weeks ago, and then the wheels went off. So we'll see.
All right.
Baseball doesn't matter.
This week we celebrate 50 years of Title IX in this country, and for those of you who may not know exactly what that is, it prohibits sex-based discrimination in any school or any education program that receives funding from the federal government. And athletics has been right in the center of that conversation. We spoke with several women who have helped shape the South Texas sports scene as they share what the milestone anniversary means to them.
There's a lot of current student athletes who probably don't know a ton of the history of that, but I have benefited so much from Title IX.
Honestly, it probably gave me the opportunity for myself to actually go to college on a scholarship, and gave me probably opportunities that I didn't realize it would have given me.
Some of my high school buddies give me a hard time for not holding all the scoring records in my hometown, and I have to point out to them, but the woman who does, she only played offense on half the court.
Yeah. I went to a very small 1A school, and then I went to a very big 5A school. In my 1A school, we did everything, and in my 5A school, we did nothing because they didn't have to. Missing out on those opportunities as a young athlete was tough. You had to search out opportunities to play.
For me, I was a pre-Title IX baby, so I didn't have sports growing up. And I got into sports administration as fast as I could to help create these opportunities for other girls and women.
As you go on the road in the summertime and spring evaluation period, you run into coworkers, you run into, to peers a lot. It's been interesting to talk to some of them about the impact of Title IX. Vivian Stringer retiring this year, and you reflect back on really what they did for women's athletics in general.
I played sports before Title IX, but I grew up just south of here in George West, Texas. And folks there were so supportive of boys football and girls basketball and later volleyball. I almost felt like we started Title IX. It was not a political issue there. It was a sports issue for kids, and we were so fortunate to have that basis.
Because of Title IX, my life has completely changed. And not just that, but generations from now is going to be changed because of my life and how Title IX has affected it.
We've come so far with girls and women in athletics, but I feel like we have a long way to go still.
So Vivian Stringer, I don't know if you all know, she's a female women's basketball coach in Iowa. She left my alma mater of Cheney University and went to Iowa and stayed there, and she's been winning like crazy. She retired this year. And I think, Title IX probably opened the door for her to be able to do that, as well as Dawn Staley, the legend, who played from Philadelphia, played for Temple, now is the head coach at South Carolina. Aguna, you want to talk a little bit more about the importance of Title IX?
Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, it does give some emphasis on all sports, not just, the big money
Women's
ones.
basketball,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, and I know.
Volleyball, lacrosse.
Yeah, so it gives that opportunity,
Soccer.
and I think.
And your daughter. I mean, let's talk about your daughter because of Title IX. Your daughter, she's a soccer star. She helped lead her team to their championship.
Well, yeah, they didn't. Not almost, but no, she actually got pulled up the varsity. Again, they didn't get out of regionals, but they still were ranked 7th in the nation. So it was really hats off to those girls.
7th in the nation.
Yeah. So it was a big deal. It just gives women athletes an opportunity again. Especially with some of these major schools where you sometimes they don't get the resources to the sports that they can play. So it also opens up the scholarship opportunities, the educational opportunities, those things for student athletes. So it's a good thing. I think it's important to actually level, not necessarily, I mean, you're leveling the playing field to a certain degree, but it also gives the opportunity because they earn these scholarships. They have to work hard. And a lot of times, you work hard throughout high school, but the school you want to go to doesn't have the athletic program that you want. So it limits your options from an educational standpoint. So by doing Title IX and expanding, by expanding the sports at schools and universities, that actually helps, give more opportunities and choices to women going to college. So it's a good thing. I think it's important. There are some, again, not necessarily saying there's equal, amount of investment in women's sports, but at least you have the program and the opportunities and things like that. So, and in smaller schools, they really support. I mean, you see where there's an outpouring of support. And like William and Mary, their soccer team, their program is, they won the national title several times. So it's one of those things where, it is an opportunity for schools to get notoriety as well if they are invest in that sport and recruit, the top athlete.
Keith, do you agree with the importance that Title IX played over these last 50 years?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, not much. It's a no-brainer. I mean, what else could I say? It's wherever opportunity is there. I mean, the talent is certainly there. So why not give the opportunity? You got
Absolutely.
Women.
Stephen.
Did you say 15 years or 50?
50. I'm sorry, 50.
I didn't know it was 50 years.
Yes.
Of course not.
No, I didn't. I mean, I had no idea. I thought it was more recent than that. But yeah, I'm all for it. Nothing's negative about women getting the support that they need to do what they love. There's nothing wrong with that. I think everybody supports it. I don't know anybody that doesn't.
Okay. Nas, Title IX.
Yeah. I guess Title IX. I'll put it like this: the old Frederick Douglass quote, "Power concedes nothing without a demand." It becomes kind of hard to hear like the NCAA cartel kind of patting themselves on the back for Title IX when they had to be dragged kicking and screaming through multiple lawsuits in order to just enact that little part of equality.
Right.
So, yes, it's good. Yes, it needs to be improved. Yes, we need to put a lot more resources into a lot of women's sports. And we're kind of seeing that next generation of women athletes as far as some of the WNBA girls, the younger girls. I ain't talking about the women. I'm talking about the girls who are on the way. Like we're seeing seventh graders dunking now as far as women. Like we're going to see some really exciting athletes in the next century. So it is what it is. But yeah, Title IX, great piece of legislation. But just never forget, the NCAA fought this, from its inception and finally had to concede because legally they had no recourse. So yes, great bill. Glad we have it.
Cousin Todd, your help just spoke so that you could get more help. Go ahead, Cousin Todd.
I don't know what that means.
We need not.
Oh my gosh! Can I get a word in without all this jokes? Title IX is just as important to women as affirmative action.
Is to blacks? Is that how you want to finish it?
No, ma'am. Well, you're a Republican, so I better explain. More white women benefited from affirmative action than any blacks. Surprise, Republican. So how does Stephen and Keith feel about affirmative action?
I don't know, but you're not going to hijack the sports part.
I'm not hijacking your boring show.
All right,
I'm just
then move
asking
on.
a question.
Don't answer that question, Stephen and Keith. We're going to move on to them.
Dignified.
When U.S. swimmer Leah Thomas won a national college title this year, it was seen by some as a beacon of inclusion, but by others as deeply unfair. The trans woman has said she wants to compete in the Olympics.
Thank you, my dear friends and colleagues.
But under new rules adopted by FINA, the organisation governing international swimming, that will not be possible.
It is a policy that we need to introduce in order to protect the competitive fairness of our event.
FINA says that anyone born male who wants to compete as a woman must exhibit low or suppressed levels of testosterone, a rule already in place in many sports. But in addition, the athletes must have transitioned before the onset of puberty or the age of 12, whichever is later. The only other sport to add the puberty rule has been rugby. Professor Ross Tucker consulted on that implementation.
Most of the biology that differs between males and females is very minimally affected when you lower the testosterone. They're not worried about testosterone. They're worried about, has that person had male biological puberty, and have they had the benefits?
Swimming Canada's CEO says he welcomes the clarity of the rules, but his organisation will only implement them in races where Canadian athletes could qualify for international events. Its domestic policy still allows athletes to register under the gender of their choice. FINA also says it aims to add an open category for trans athletes, although it hasn't said when and how that would work.
That's not inclusive. That doesn't include them because it others trans people when, trans women are women and trans men are men.
Canadian LGBTQ+ rights groups have called the new rules draconian, discriminatory and unscientific. Redmond Shannon, Global News, London.
Okay, so this is LGBTQ+ month, and we're honoring all those who are and consider themselves to be. Let's start with Stephen. Based on that rules, it would be kind of hard to start, I would think, and I don't know, I don't want to sound ignorant, but it seems as though, wouldn't it be harder for a transgender person to start prior to puberty to start that change? It may not be too easy, and I don't think that rule is necessarily fair for those swimmers. Do you agree, Stephen? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Stephen. Go ahead.
Okay, that happens all the time now. The little kids are making the decision whether or not they want to be a boy or a girl, so they go through a transition before they go through puberty, which I believe is child abuse. And what they're doing with this swimmer is exactly correct. This swimmer has a huge advantage over women. He's 2 feet taller. He's got muscles. He went through puberty as a boy, so there's no way he should compete. And he's the only swimmer I know that's transgender. So maybe he should be in his own little league, and every time he swims, he has an opportunity to break his own record.
So, okay. So, cousin Todd, let me ask you, I was thinking more so it wasn't fair to limit those swimmers to a pre-gender status. It seems as though, before 12, it seems as though that shouldn't matter. It seems as though whenever they start their transition, they should still be able to compete in a certain category, whether it be male or female. They have the right to do that. I don't think they should put those limitations on that. Do you agree?
First of all, this is a non-story, and I hate it that you're wasting time on it. And then for you to draw attention to, this is LGBTQ month, so you play this ridiculous story.
LGBTQ plus.
XYZ.
So this story, Republicans try to make an issue out of non-issues. They did the same thing with the bathroom problem. There's going to be all kinds of rapes and all that kind of crap. Stephen remembers it because he and Keith used to discuss it weekly.
There were rapes.
And so now they're attacking transgenders. Now, though, I do think this swimmer has an advantage, but so what? I'm just not that interested in this story. And they try to make it seem as if every third person is transgendered. And there will never be more than 10 of them in the Olympics. So this is a non-story. Oh, you're stopping them from high school sports as if there's so many of them. You can count them on one hand. So it's a non-story.
Well, it seems like to me, Keith, Todd Todd's comment right then seemed to be very limiting, very unfair to transgender people, and to call them, I thought was, downright disrespectful.
They are them.
Well, it sounds to me like Todd
Whatever.
seems like he's minimizing it. I mean, I'm a little surprised.
I'm minimizing the quote unquote problem because there is none. Transgenders can play any sport. So I'm minimizing what you're trying to do, you and your radical friends.
Well, you sound to me. You sound like you're giving mixed messages here. I don't know. Whatever.
Only to you radicals, it's a mixed message. Like, for example, Stephen hated Donald Trump and thought he was a dictator and evil, and then he was in love with him.
No, Stephen just lied. Stephen was he analyzed it logically, and
sure he did.
But
independent thinker.
Yeah, he's a thinker. You are irrational, just like you're doing now with the transgender issue. Okay, so it's very important to them, the transgender.
You are so interested in gay and lesbian and transgender. Why do they interest you so much?
He didn't bring it up.
Why does he did bring it up? He's the one that wanted to talk about this today. He and you both.
Oh, I didn't know.
Of course you did.
Whoops.
You have to check your boyfriend from time to time.
Yeah, check your wife, Stephen. Check him.
I told you I ain't heard from him in a week. I thought he stopped loving me.
The LGBT
quit him then.
Chance of that.
Yeah. So let me.
You better check in more often, Keith.
He's talking over everybody. I'm not going to lose my thought because of that. But it's the point is again.
You actually have a thought?
Everybody has their own month now. Okay, blacks, whites, browns. Well, everybody but Asians. I don't know of any Asian month.
A white male does not have his month. White male does not have a month.
White males only have the year. They don't have the month. They have the whole year. Check yourself. They have the whole year.
No, everybody
So
gets
go
a
ahead.
month.
Okay. I got it. Nas, do you want to come in here before Aguna?
Oh God.
Well, yeah, I think I agree with Todd in a lot of the sentiment about it because a lot of this is like culture
help
war
me.
stuff that
I don't
people are
believe-
trying to politicize for gain, which is unfortunate because we're still talking about kids. But like, no matter what, unless we're talking about like combat sports, where you're talking about MMA or boxing, then I can see like, whoa, there needs to be some protocols here. We have to watch how this goes. But everything else, that's kind of how life has always been. So I don't even understand why people are so upset about it. When I was in high school, there were 2 point guards in my conference that went to the NBA. I did not go to the NBA. Do you know what that meant? That meant my freshman year, I tried to get my dad to let me transfer somewhere else so I could avoid him. And he said, hell no, you got to play against them. Get tougher, get better. And essentially, that's what you're saying with this, where you're saying, okay, well, this kid has this advantage. Well,
yeah, but you got to become
every other aspect of sports for kids growing up.
Hey, Nas, you could have played for the women's team.
Point guard, another kid is 6'6", and a center. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, there's no
Absolutely
equal field of playing when it comes to sports, especially with genetics, because some people's stuff is going to be different. So the fact that you're at a track and field meet and there's one person who might be, who might have that designation there and they win the race, that means everybody else is terrible, won't get a college scholarship? No. So a lot of this is overreaction and culture war BS. I'll end that.
Okay, Aguna.
Yeah, so my son played his first game of Super Y this weekend.
And what's Super Y?
So it's a Super Y. It's a summer soccer league, right? So
Okay.
He's eight, and they only have U11 Super Y. So he's playing against 11-year-olds. He's 3 years younger than a lot of these kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they went up there. They went to Loudoun County. They were playing in Loudoun County, Virginia, and we had some visiting players play on our team. Both were girls. So and they were 8 and 9-year-olds, right? So you had 8 and 9-year-old girls playing on our team as visiting players. Of course, they got destroyed. We got destroyed. We're a younger team, but they played very well. I mean, they played very well. They were holding their own against the boys. They were getting physical. They were still ball control. And I will say from a development standpoint, they actually improve their level of play, that when they do go back to their age group or they play in other games, they actually play better. When my daughter plays her best games against boys, she plays better against boys than she does against girls. And this is soccer, right? So it's a contact sport. There are a lot more concussions, especially for women in soccer than there are, in some of these other sports. So I say all that to say this. Let the kids play, figure it out. I do think it is a non-issue. I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, my son needs to play on a girls' team or something like that. That's just being silly. These are kids. Let them compete. They all get better. I do think that there are some gender-neutral sports that can, that this goes out in the wash. And there's some other sports that may be a little bit more specific to males because it is a contact sport, because they're athletically better in those sports. And just play it out. Look at tennis. There are tennis matches where you can play against gender neutral, where men can play against women and all this. It's just a matter of we as a society stop making this non-issue an issue. I do agree with that. Let's kind of move on from this culture war stuff, because it's the main reason why the Republicans today don't have a platform. They want to do this. They want to do this anti-woke stuff, which they're actually being more woke than the quote unquote woke people, because they're the ones trying to attack and project their views on them. So
when your daughter goes to college, she's going to have to compete against a man that pretends to be a woman. You're cool with that?
Well, there are a lot of colleges out there. There are a lot of colleges. She'll have options. I'm not stressed over that.
Okay, so you wouldn't let that happen.
She has options. She doesn't have to go to this one college where this person is competing against her specifically. That's a myth. That's a myth. That's that scare tactic that you always want us to be.
Right?
I have options. No, I'm not going to let that happen, because she's going to have options. She's going to have academic options. She's going to have athletic options. So she's not going to sit there and be like, I didn't get that.
When you say you're not going to let that happen, that means that's a problem for you.
Yep.
No, it's not a problem.
I can't.
It's not a problem. It's not a problem at all. That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to let that happen, because I'm not going to limit her.
That's not going to happen. She has options, so that's a problem. You don't want to say
how is that a
right
problem?
down this rabbit hole.
By having options is a problem. I'm negating the ignorance being thrown at me. I'm not going to let that happen. I'm not going to let her have a limited option in which she's competing against some mythical transgender person that Stephen made up in their head just to try to make a far right point. Which I'm not falling for that. I'm not falling for it, Stephen.
I'm on the side of women.
It's about opportunity for all.
I'm on the side of women.
No, you're not. You're not a woman. How can you speak for women? You're not a woman. You're not on the side of women, Stephen. Stop it.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not. You're not. You're telling them what to do with their bodies. You're telling them when and not to get abortions. You're telling them all these other things, but you're on the side of women.
I tell a woman not what to do with the body that lives inside her.
Stop it. I don't.
Go ahead, Nas.
With a beard like that, you're not on the side of women.
No, man.
You have a beard like Abraham, and Abraham had all these wives. We don't trust you.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Nas.
No, the problem with what Stephen is laying out is it plays the game of, let me think of the worst case scenario and then treat that as the average. So everybody's given this gloom and doom story about somebody who tricks everyone and is able to, by fraud and deception, get that designation and then use it to, soar past other athletes. When it's like, if you've ever met soccer moms or weekend dad, travel team, those parents are not going to allow people to fraudulently misuse this and then have this situation where Stephen is talking about, well, guess they lose now because this person is here. It's like, no, man, if somebody gets there, it's going to be a legit person who checks all the boxes on what it is to be, qualified as, I don't know what language you use on that, so I ain't going to say the wrong thing. But yeah, nobody's going to trick all the damn active student parents of athletes. Because if you know that group, they're really, really, really litigious. They're really, really, really angry. And they will shut down the season before they allow something to fly that they think is wrong. I'm sorry, man. I just don't believe it.
That's exactly right. And we spent way too much time on this non-issue, thanks to Stacey, humoring Keith and Stephen.
The welfare.
But first, after months of delays, the first preschoolers and toddlers can get vaccinated against COVID-19. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Eric Perry. Christine Spiro is off. So this all comes as the FDA and CDC authorized 2 vaccines for all young children all the way down to 6 months of age. The Fox Medical team's Beth Galvin is here with more on the first day of rollouts. Beth, a big step in the fight against COVID-19.
A big step, and the first doses started arriving at Children's Medical Group in Decatur this morning. It was the Moderna vaccine, and they had to thaw it out before they could start giving it out. But by early afternoon, a preschooler named Nico was one of the first in line to get his first shot. Nico Civitello, who is almost 4, was one of the first 2 patients to get the Moderna 5 and under COVID-19 vaccine at Children's Medical Group in Decatur on Monday afternoon. His big brother got vaccinated on the first day he was eligible, and Nico's parents say they have been waiting for his turn.
It feels great. Really excited for him, really excited for our family. I think it's great for everybody. It's going to be a little bit of a relief. We're still going to stay vigilant, mask when we can, and keep our distance, but this is, a huge deal for us.
Children's Medical Group has ordered both COVID-19 vaccines authorized for children as young as 6 months, but has only received the Moderna vaccine, which arrived Monday morning about 48 hours after the CDC signed off on recommending both the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines for very young children after a series of delays in the review process. Pediatrician Dr. Jennifer Hsu says they have been waiting months for this day.
Really exciting, really happy for the parents. Our phones have been ringing off the hook. I'm actually helping answer the phone sometimes, and parents are just giddy with excitement because their kids are finally able to get this layer of protection that they've been waiting for.
Both vaccines are low-dose vaccines, with the Moderna vaccine requiring 2 shots given a month apart and the Pfizer 3 shots spread out over 3 months.
Right now, this particular location, we only have the Moderna vaccine. A lot of parents are choosing that because it's a 4-week, so first one now, second dose 4 to 8 weeks from now, and so it's faster to get that protection. So we're seeing a lot of parents are choosing that. Some parents are just saying, I want whatever I can get my hands on, and that's totally fine.
And Dr. Hsu acknowledges that her practice is in an area of Metro Atlanta where parents are really eager to get their younger children vaccinated. But she says she knows that's not the case in other areas. And polls nationally show only about 1 in 5 parents with young children plan to get them vaccinated as soon as possible. The rest plan to either wait or not vaccinate. And for parents who have questions about the vaccine, Dr. Hsu recommends talking to your child's pediatrician. And Eric, that's because your child's doctor is really going to know their health issues, best and how to best answer these questions.
What about side effects when it comes to this vaccine? A lot of parents wondering what their child might experience when it comes to that.
So there's good news in that. This is a lower dose than the older kids are getting, so you have fewer side effects. So the side effects mainly in the research trials were, some soreness or aching at the site of injection. Some children felt tired, a little bit achy after the vaccine, but typically those were short-term side effects, and they didn't see the heart issues that they've seen with some of the older kids.
Beth Galvin, thanks so much. Sure. We appreciate it. Well, Fox.
Okay, let's start with Keith. Are you hearing that are they allowing parents to have their children vaccinated out there in California?
No, I mean, they're not. I don't think a lot of people are doing it. My nieces, 11 and 12, are not vaccinated, and the grandma will not let them get vaccinated at this point. Yet the grandma got vaccinated. I got vaccinated. That's as far as I go. Is what?
Ridiculous.
I'm not getting a 3rd or 4th or a 5th. Just got the 2 to keep my job, and now that I've retired from that job, I will not continue to get.
That's not true. I don't understand how you can say that because it was not mandatory.
Stacey, would you please mute Todd while I'm speaking, because I'm not going to let Todd tell you why I did something. I'm not going to let that happen. So I just want to let you know right now.
Well, you lied and said it was mandatory.
Said that it was mandatory, and it was at the time. So, I have proof of it, but of course you don't care about the evidence. You're like the January 6th crowd. But anyway, I just want to say that
it just went completely, your point just got lost.
One more thing before they interrupt me again, because I never interrupt them. But here's what I want to say.
You want to hear this ignorance.
I always wonder, I'm a little suspicious, and maybe Stephen can answer it. I don't know why they're so concerned about the life of these children when abortions.
Oh, he's going to try to flip it.
Abortion, Yeah, you think I'm flipping it, but life
No,
is life.
you are. Go ahead.
Life is
Finish.
life. If you care about life, then you care about life all the way. So, you know, Stephen, maybe you can answer. These guys are so dense. They don't really get it.
They need to make
Well,
billions
Stephen is
more.
not
They need to
going
make a lot
next.
more money. The only reason
Stephen
it's
is
about
not
choice.
going next.
So
Who do you want to go to, Stacey?
I want to go to Nas. Nas, do you want to address the children being able at this point, less than 5 years old, to get this layer of protection? Is it a good thing?
Yeah, not only is it a good thing, but it's actually what has to be done. Like, if people are serious, especially about competing, and by competing, I mean globally. When you talk about India, China, and some of these other nations who've taken on the idea that, okay, we have to prepare ourselves for the next pandemic, or we have to prevent the next pandemic. They're doing their due diligence and doing their good works, while we're still over here fighting over the efficacy of something that is proven to not only be life-saving, but actually change the direction of a pandemic that was eating away at the world. So at this point, if you can't see 20, 30 years out that the continual bickering and all this other stuff you guys are doing, if you can't see what that leads America into, and I guarantee it ain't America first, if you can't see that, then I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, you have to prevent, you have to prepare, and this is a part of it. We don't need another global pandemic.
So, Stephen, based on that, would you have gotten your son vaccinated if he was less than 5?
Absolutely not. I've read too much research on it. It's not healthy. It's not good. The children don't need it, but every parent can do what they want to do. They can turn their child into a boy or a girl because a child at 5 years old says, I'm a boy. I'm not really a girl. And they can change their entire life, and they can give them drugs to change their sexuality. When a kid says, I'm a boy at 5 years old, and when a girl says, I'm really a boy, she could really say, I'm a princess. She could say, I'm a fire hydrant. I'm anything. But these kids are innocent. And when you change their sexuality before they have a reasonable thought in their minds, then that's child
We're not
abuse.
talking about sexuality.
And if you're giving kids drugs that have been proven, she said it's a lower dose, but you're giving kids drugs that have been harmful to a lot of kids, and these children are not susceptible to this virus the way somebody Keith's age is, or people older than Keith, and that's why they would be more susceptible to getting sick. If you're under 5 years old, you're pretty good. I don't know any 5-year-old or less that has died from COVID. I haven't seen.
You can't say that is true. We don't know
I
that.
haven't seen anything. I haven't seen anything about
Stephen, where'd you get your medical degree? Stephen, where'd you get your medical degree?
Same place you did.
Exactly.
Out my rear
Exactly.
end. But I read a lot.
Pivot.
Have you read
Yeah.
Fauci's?
You read so much that you got a degree.
Have you
Cool.
read the Fauci
So,
book?
Cousin Todd.
Robert Kennedy?
Hell no.
Cousin Todd.
Why don't you read it? Get your wife to read it to you.
I'm not
when you go to
reading
bed
it.
at night.
I got enough toilet paper.
The importance of the CDC allowing children under 5 to receive this small dose of COVID vaccine is what?
Is a good thing. And I believe the composition is the same, just in a lower dose. Now, I can't be sure of that. They're going to talk about that tomorrow. But I believe the composition is the same. And so this is why the side effects are similar. Now, it's a good thing that children are getting vaccinated, because a lot of times that you had to keep the children away from, fun and other children and whatnot. Now that you can get they can become part of the family again and do things that they used to do. And it's peculiar how Stephen got his 4-month-old baby vaccinated from measles, mumps, chickenpox. But all of a sudden, since Donald Trump became president, now no more vaccine. But that's what happens when you're in a cult and you're a follower.
I don't follow anyone.
No, I know.
Jesus Christ.
Donald Trump won the election, right?
So, Nas, did you comment on this?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, and Aguna, you commented?
I didn't comment.
Oh, go ahead.
Look, so I want our viewers and listeners to just understand when you embrace ignorance, like you sometimes hear on this show, I mean, people die from this. I know people that have died from this. I know people who've gotten sick from it. I know people, children that have gotten really sick. It's a good thing. You know, the same people on this show talk about herd immunity, this, and then they're anti-vaccine. But the vaccine is actually helping us get to herd immunity. What you're seeing now it's interesting because they say it's just like the flu. They always said it's just like the flu, right? But because of vaccination, it's become like the flu. You're not getting hospitalized. You're not seeing the deaths that you saw early on. And with any vaccination, from the beginning of time, you're going to go through this period in which you have trials. I mean, now it's even better because, again, we have technology. The trials that they did, you don't sit around here and test it on a bunch of monkeys and chickens and all this other stuff. They can run computer simulations and figure out multiple different paths and of pathogens and things like that they could actually get a lot more accurate and a lot quicker because of technology. I know a lot of people on this show think technology is witchcraft, but they have the technology so that they can advance these things. So just please, if you want to get your child vaccinated, it's up to you, but talk to your doctor. Don't listen to any Yahoo on this show that says they know better because they read a book that some dark web publisher published. No, talk to your doctor, see what they say. I trust a doctor, a medical professional, before anybody else on this show. And at the end of the day, I've asked Stephen to come on the show with a doctor. Again, remember, guys, go back to the episodes. You had Keith and Stephen arguing with a doctor about vaccinations and how this virus spreads.
And she was
They
wrong.
never stepped a foot into any medical university on this
Turned out she
planet.
was
Yet they
wrong.
want to talk to a medical professional about the virus. That's the kind of foolishness you're dealing with when you listen to some of these clowns on this show.
That's
But
right.
make your own
Tainted
decision.
journals.
I'm done.
She was given false information.
This is a day of profound, in my view, profound weight and profound power. A day in which we remember the moral stain, the terrible toll that slavery took on the country and continues to take. What I've long called America's original sin. At the same time, I also remember the extraordinary capacity to heal and to hope and to emerge from those painful moments. And we're blessed to mark the day in the presence of Miss Opal Lee. As my mother said, God love her. Grandmother of the movement to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. And Ms. Opal is, you won't believe it, she's 49 years old. Or 94 years old. But as I was walking down, I regret that my grandchildren aren't here. Because this is a really, really, really important moment in our history. By making Juneteenth a federal holiday, all Americans can feel the power of this day and learn from our history and celebrate progress and grapple with the distance we've come, but the distance we have to travel, Jim. And I have to say to you, I've only been president for several months, but I think this will go down for me as one of the greatest honors I will have had as president, not because I did it, you did it. Democrats and Republicans.
So according to this Axios.com article, wait a minute, I'm trying to read it here. Maybe I'll show it. Let me show it. Let me share the screen with you. That's what I want to do. All right. Only 18.
Can't read that.
Only 18 states have made Juneteenth a state holiday, according to Axios.com. Jacob Knopfson said a year after President Biden signed a bill making the 11th federal holiday, 32 states have not passed legislation to recognize it as a state holiday. Juneteenth recognizes a day in 1865 when enslaved Texas officially learned they had been freed 2 years earlier by the Emancipation Proclamation.
2.5.
All 50, pardon?
2.5.
All 50 states either commemorate or observe Juneteenth, but only 8 states observe it as a permanent paid state holiday. Those states are Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Georgia, Illinois, Louisiana, Maine, Massachusetts, Maryland, Nebraska, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Oregon, South Dakota, Texas, Virginia, and Washington. Keith, why do you think all 50 states have not observed it as a permanent paid state holiday?
Well, because not all 50 states recognized when the Emancipation Proclamation was signed that it was legitimate either. So, you know, some states will and some states won't. I personally am not bothered by it either way because there's no slavery today that is legal in the United States.
Not.
Slavery is not
hard.
anywhere in the United States, according to the Constitution. That's good enough for me. So I don't know, you know, at the time, again, you can argue over both ways. It's not.
Oh my God. You're not getting the white man's heaven, Keith. You're not getting the white man's heaven. You can try all you want.
It won't change.
So, Guna, according to this article, as you can see, the big picture, opponents of legislation to allocate funding to make Juneteenth a permanent state holiday have argued that it would be too expensive to give state employees another paid day off and that not enough people celebrate it. Do you think that's a good enough reason?
Of course not. Let's celebrate. Look, a lot of people try to erase history. I think this is a good time for us to reflect. I mean, we do it for Memorial Day. We do it for Labor Day. I mean, I'm putting this holiday right there after Christmas and Thanksgiving as a way to just talk about freedom. I mean, this is freedom under the Constitution, freedom under, it's one of those things where you can really see the powerful of history. You're talking about 2.5 years after the slaves were free. And you hear this babble that Keith is saying, well, you know, there's no slavery today, all this other stuff. It's a holiday. You're supposed to reflect on a holiday. You're not supposed to forget your past because you learn from it. Therefore, you know how to help the future. And the thing about it is again, this is a bias. It's a political. It's all political. They're saying this garbage about how much it costs and all this. This political. It's because Biden did it. But at the end of the day, if you really peel back the onion and think about it, think about the role of government in the situation of the Emancipation Proclamation and the fact that Texas didn't let these enslaved people know that they were free until 2.5 years, because that's how hard they were trying to maintain their economy, maintain their supremacy, and maintain, you know, their states' rights or whatever, that they went amongst great lengths to hide this from people. So think about the role of government in that. And this is why we need to control government. Don't let government control us. So it's actually a very constitutional conservative issue that we're talking about here. But because you want to make it political and you want to make it seem like these people, meaning Black people, are somehow being privileged by reflecting on a holiday of something that happened to them, you know, all these years ago, somehow it's meaningless or somehow we shouldn't recognize it. It's nonsense. Let's celebrate it. We got the money. We have the technology to celebrate this holiday every year.
Okay, so let me ask Stephen, if this is a federal holiday and the federal government has enough money to pay federal workers off, and it was worth it to supplement the economy of Texas for Texas to make money off of slaves for 2 years by telling them they weren't free, how can these states now say, oh, it's going to cost us too much money not to make this a federal holiday in our state? They gained the money when they didn't tell them for 2 years.
Right. I
The
understand
U.S.
that.
doesn't have enough holidays.
I agree a lot of what Aguna just said, and the states they're basically going to make up their own mind, like a states' rights kind of thing, and do what they want to do, and it's hard to pressure them into anything like that. But I don't have any problem with it. Anytime people can get a day off from work is a good thing to me. I don't have any problem. But I also want to say really quick, if I can, just to jump back a little bit, Robert F. Kennedy wrote a book about Dr. Fauci and Bill Gates, and he's been studying this.
We're
for
not
decades.
interested in that. We have moved
Wait a
on.
minute. You know what the
Let
worst thing
it
is?
go,
You know what they
Stephen. What the
did? You know
hell
what
is
they
wrong
did?
with you,
Can I speak?
Stephen?
Can I speak? You know what they did
No,
during
we're not
slavery
talking about
times?
that.
Let me speak. You know what they did during slavery times? They kept people ignorant, Black people ignorant. They wouldn't teach them how to read. Now I'm encouraging everybody to read this book. It is factual. It's a 100%. If you read it and you come back to me and tell me you don't agree with me, that there's a problem going on, this has been going on for decades, Aguna. It was with the HIV, AIDS, and the drugs that they were pushing on people that were killing gay people. Dr. Fauci was responsible for that. Read the book. It's
And
your,
what book is
it's
that,
your political
Stephen?
lean. It's your
What
political
book is
lean
that,
that keeps
Stephen?
you ignorant.
What book is that, Stephen?
Dr. Fauci's book, Robert F. Kennedy, his father was John F. Kennedy's brother. He was murdered. And it's Dr. Fauci and Bill Gates. I don't have the title in front of me right now, but it's about Dr. Fauci and Bill Gates. Everybody should read it. Then come back to me and tell me you don't agree with me. That
Okay.
there's something really wrong with Fauci and what's going on with these shots and these injections. And you talk about me giving my kids those shots before. There's a lot that's wrong. There's a lot that you have to look at. And a lot of things happen, like autism and other things that happen since children have been getting these shots. And all of it's about profit. And that's why they want these 5-year-olds and under to get these shots, because they want more money. Follow the money.
Okay.
You know that, Aguna. But if you want to stay
All right.
ignorant, stay ignorant. Everybody listen to this.
Okay, Cousin Todd.
This is outrage. You are outrageous. You, not Keith and Stephen. It's you.
Oh yeah, just bait and switch. It's me, right? Yeah.
It's you. You allowed him
said
to
all
babble on,
that.
and then you would say to me, come on, hurry up. Can't take all day. When I say 3 words. That was the most ridiculous babble. We weren't even talking about that.
You're right,
talking
Cousin
about
Todd.
hijacking your
You're
show.
out of time.
He just he just hijacked the show and you allowed it. Now, I can't believe you did that. And
Do
then,
you know what
hey,
you want to
what's the
say,
name of
or
the
do you
book?
just want to babble off about how frustrated you are? Do you have something worth it to say, Cousin Todd?
Yes, I do. We're talking about Juneteenth. I wanted to ask a question, but I can't now because he's wasted so much of our time babbling on about nothing. But yeah, good. I wanted you to take that off the screen. Now, do you see what you got him doing? Do you see? This is all your fault, Stacy. So Juneteenth is important. Now, mind you, this is not what Stephen and Keith thinks is critical race theory. This is just a lesson about history. How 2.5 years Texas took to tell Black people that they were free. And it reminds me of the Civil War when Lincoln supposedly freed the slaves and we went to war. But he didn't let Black people fight in the war for 2 years until they were losing so bad he had no other choice. And so it's funny that number 2 years, it's just typical America. So it's a good thing that we're learning about Black people. And certainly it should be a holiday. Just like, and if you need to switch something out, take President's Day out. I think that's a waste anyway. So take President's Day out and throw in Juneteenth, since you can't afford it. Nevertheless, I can remember John McCain had a problem with Martin Luther King Day.
Well,
Though
it
he
wasn't
did-
necessarily that John McCain had a problem with it, Cousin Todd. He was okay
He
with
voted
his
against
state.
it.
Yes, because
No.
his constituents in his state had a problem with it.
No,
And
this
you
is
vote
what
the
you
way
do
your
when you're in
constituents
charge.
tell you to.
No, you teach your ignorant constituents. That's what you do. And he did eventually. And he said it was his biggest regret voting against it politically.
Okay, Nas.
See?
I'm going to give you some help, Todd. Help me, Nas. Go ahead, Nas.
I don't need any help.
But just to clear up something, the idea that enslaved people were ignorant because the majority of them were not literate is a misconception that's been taught about slavery for a long time. You got to understand that enslaved people had really high social intellectualism, meaning they had to read people's moods, temperaments. They had to know who was who and what was what could lead to serious consequences because this person's connected to that person. They had to understand a vast array of cultural customs and just figuring out ways to kind of ease the monster so they could live their lives. Just the amount of, tricks they were able to play on, the plantation, from work slowdowns, breaking tools, making sure people got fed, lying about the count. There's tales of, dropping weights into the cotton barrel before they put it on the skip. Like the idea that these people were ignorant is something that goes into, how most Americans talk about enslavement. But
I didn't say they were ignorant.
People just in a particular position, but just as crafty as anybody else, just as smart as anybody else. They even developed their own language to speak in front of the master about things that they wouldn't be allowed to speak about. And the next thing, as far as this holiday goes, I just look at it like this. There's a lot of black people who want it, so fine. We can have the holiday. People agree with it, fine. But myself, personally, I think we should keep our holidays to ourselves because America has a way of commercially turning anything sacred into the profane. And as you see more ads about
Walmart Juneteenth ice cream,
or a club setting, or whatever other ridiculous ways this holiday is going to be smeared to a certain degree, because this is what happens with American commercialism. Ask Mexicans about Cinco de Mayo and how it's celebrated, or Irish about St. Patrick's. Like, these are things that Americans do. So I personally would prefer we just kept it within our own and celebrated on our own. But since it's going to be part of the national tapestry, then it should be done in full. We shouldn't have a piecemeal thing where some states are like, well, I don't want to fund it. You fund it. And we're going to see right-wing governors in red states kind of put their finger in the air and test the wind on whether they're going to do it or not. And when they do, they'll celebrate themselves as if they thought of it. So, there's a lot going on here.
Stacey, can I make a quick statement? Statement, Stacey. All right, look here. For the record, Stephen, you can do a lot of things, but you don't have the intellectual prowess, purview, or privilege to tell me anything about what enslaved people have done or went through at that time. My ancestors will haunt you in your sleep before you can tell me anything.
Your ancestors are
Just
still
be
enslaving
clear
people.
on that.
Your
your
ancestors, people are still enslaving people.
I said what I said. You don't have the privilege to tell me.
We don't have slavery in this country.
Oh, wait.
We don't have slavery in this country.
Theory. Hey, I will swat you like a fly, Stephen, before you even come at me like that again. Shame on you. Get yourself, read a book. Read that book yourself. Read that book yourself.
Okay, thank you.
And wait, Stacey, real quick.
Your mother was kind enough to come speak with us earlier. Let's listen to her story in her words.
My name is Ruby Freeman. I've always believed that when God says that he'll make your name great, but this is not the way it was supposed to be. I could have never imagined the events that followed the presidential election 2020. For my entire professional life, I was Lady Ruby. My community in Georgia, where I was born and lived my whole life, knew me as Lady Ruby. I built my own business around that name, LaRuby's Unique Treasures, a pop-up shop catering to ladies with unique fashions. I wore a shirt that proudly proclaimed that I was, and I am, Lady Ruby. Actually, I had that shirt on. I had that shirt in every color. I wore that shirt on Election Day 2020. I haven't worn it since. and I'll never wear it again. Now I won't even introduce myself by my name anymore. I get nervous when I bump into someone I know in the grocery store who says my name. I'm worried about who's listening. I get nervous when I have to give my name for food orders. I'm always concerned of who's around me. I've lost my name and I've lost my reputation. I've lost my sense of security, all because a group of people starting with number 45 and his ally, Rudy Giuliani, decided to scapegoat me and my daughter, Shay, to push their own lies about how the presidential election was stolen.
Let's start with Keith. Keith, have you ever worked the polls before?
Yes, I have.
So if it were the other way around, and let's say, for instance, since you're Republican, it was Bill Clinton who did that to you, would you think that you were justified in doing and saying what Lady Ruby is today?
Well, I don't know what she's talking about, really. I'll be honest with you, because I never heard of her before.
Of course you don't.
First time I've heard of her. So
move on. He doesn't know the story.
Don't know the story. I'm sorry. It's just
oh, that's okay.
Something that
that's typical.
They put her out there, but I wonder if anyone is available cross-examine what she does. And I would answer you no. There will be no cross-examinations. There will be no witness.
He doesn't know the story. Move on.
He had the opportunity to put people on there. He didn't.
It's all hearsay.
Stacey,
would you? The opportunity. Again, McCarthy didn't put him on the committee.
Let him finish. You guys have to let him finish, please.
Yeah, I think it would be fair for you to mute them like you do when they're talking, when you mute the rest of us. I think it's important because, Stephen, I want to say also, I think it was unfair for Aguna to try to show some kind of superior intellectual prowess over Stephen, which he does not have. And he's just because he's black and just because he has a heritage, maybe slavery. But maybe if you go back in history, you might find out that maybe Aguna's history was a history of enslavement because there were black slave owners as well. Anyway, I rest my case.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to share this article. Well, Cousin Todd, go ahead, Cousin Todd. I see your look already. Make your comment. Oh my God.
Yeah, because you let these people. Now he just said, I don't know the story. You were supposed to say, okay, thank you, move on. He doesn't know.
No, I was going to tell a little bit of the story, but you go ahead and tell the story, Cousin Todd.
Well, he's pretending not to know the story.
Of course.
Or he found out these women were black, so he was totally uninterested. This is what happens when you hate your mother. So Donald Trump called this woman by name and her daughter 18 times, saying they were they stole the election, they were cheating, they were taking ballots and feeding them into the machine, which was not true. And so they had people coming to their house, a mob coming to their house threatening to kill them. I guess you don't know anything about that. And so this is a woman who worked the polls. That's a good thing. And her mother worked there. And they even had people going to her grandmother's house. This was beyond sick.
Well, they were going to, Todd, why were they going? They said they were going to make citizen arrests. So they went to her door. They pounded on her door. She opened the door not knowing who it was. And they said they started pushing their way in her home, saying they were going to make a citizen's arrest because they believed her to have done what Todd says she was accused of.
Exactly. And how unfair is that? These women are just working and they're being accused.
And you don't get a lot of money for working polls. I don't know if any of you work polls. I've worked polls for free, not for money, but they do offer like maybe $40 for 12 hours or more.
Yeah, you get paid for it. You get paid.
You don't get a lot of money. It's your civic duty. It's a civic duty. I mean, everyone should work a poll. Nas, do you want to make a comment? I don't want to leave you out.
Well, I mean, just understand the restraint that a gentleman like me has after you said you worked the polls. I didn't even take the joke. The joke was right there. I didn't take it because I'm so, it's like a great gentleman that I am, Nas. I had myself back. But no, this goes back to a lot of things we talked about on the show. Matter of fact, if you can go back in the archives of this show, you'll find certain people on this show actually tried to use that video as evidence during the conversation, saying that, see, this proves the cheating.
That was Steven.
Now, that video went around the right-wing blogosphere, got really popular and big, and that was how Rudy and Trump and everybody else latched onto it after it had blown up online between right-wingers who wanted to come up with some kind of explanation for their God King losing. So when you hear her speak, that's a bona fide church lady right there. And if you know anything about the Black community, people you don't mess with are a bona fide church lady or a respected elderman within the church. There was certain respect and a certain integrity within the community based on the relationships they have and the things that they've done. So when you see a woman like this who puts her own time into something because she wants to do her civic duty, and then you see raggedy YouTubers who know nothing about the election process, nothing about working a poll, they look at this video and reach their own conclusions. See, they're bringing ballots in there. They're stuffing ballots in there. Meanwhile, the person over Georgia election, Raffensperger, who had to do 100% thorough investigation because he knew his whole career, legacy, everything was on the line here. Will he uphold democracy or not? And even with the pressure of Trump calling and threatening, telling them to find more votes and everything else, you can kind of see, like, wow, this man made a statement and he has people within his sphere who are so angry, so racist that they're willing to believe this and try to take out physical violence against a poll worker, an elderly church-going poll worker, because they watched a YouTube video and decided that this person was stuffing ballots in there. Now, we can have a conversation about if you wanted to steal an election, you damn sure wouldn't just stuff a bunch of ballots in one place, which would be stupid. We can have that conversation. But the more important conversation is how many right-wingers are being indoctrinated online on Facebook and YouTube. And you can see how dire and how critical these things can get based on these rumors catching fire. I'm in there.
So,
and they could have been killed just to end that. These women could have been killed. And for the president to get away with doing something like that, putting their lives in jeopardy, and nobody with any sense at all believes these women did that.
What are you saying? And President Trump told him to do that? That he organized a gang of people to go to her house and do that? Is that what you're saying?
Listen at that.
No,
what happens when you tell him
cues from others who told him that this false video was election fraud, but it's come to find out that not only did that not happen, he was told that it wasn't true and kept pushing and going with it because he had no other recourse because he had already jumped out and said
put him in danger.
So that's where you get the criminal element of it. But his supporters being criminals like that, yeah, no surprise.
Well, there were a lot. That's why
I want to talk about some of the takeaways from today's hearing for the January.
Can I comment real quick before you go?
Wait a minute. Let's hear this. I'm going to play this. They got to play these. Which ones? Wait a minute. So make your comments, Stephen.
Yeah, for Todd, because he's an expert on this story. Was anyone arrested? Is there a police report, or is this just her word? If people break into your house and attempt to hurt you, they call the police, and people get arrested. And is any of that? You know any of this, or is this hearsay?
Yes.
So there is a police
ma'am.
report.
Matter of fact,
yes, ma'am.
Told her
there is a police report. They've called, and they have,
okay, listen to this.
When you call the police.
Officials spanned numerous contested states, as you will see in this video produced by the Select Committee.
My name is Josh Rosselman. I'm an investigative counsel for the House Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol. Beginning in late November 2020, the president and his lawyers started appearing before state legislators, urging them to give their electoral votes to Trump, even though he lost the popular vote.
I represent President Trump along with Jenna Ellis And this is our fourth or fifth hearing.
This election has to be turned around because we won Pennsylvania by a lot, and we won all of these swing states by a lot.
This was a strategy with both practical and legal elements. The Select Committee has obtained an email from just 2 days after the election, in which a Trump campaign lawyer named Cleta Mitchell asked another Trump lawyer, John Eastman, to write a memo justifying the idea.
When do you remember this coming up as an option in the post-election period for the first time?
Right after the election. It might have been before the election.
Eastman prepared a memo attempting to justify this strategy, which was circulated to the Trump White House, Rudy Giuliani's legal team, and state legislators around the country. And he appeared before the Georgia State Legislature to advocate for it publicly.
But you could also do what the Florida legislature was prepared to do, which is to adopt a slate of electors yourself. And when you add in the mix of the significant statistical anomalies and sworn affidavits and video evidence of outright election fraud, I don't think it's just your authority to do that, but quite frankly, I think you have a duty to do that, to protect the integrity of the election here in Georgia.
But Republican officials in several states released public statements recognizing that President Trump's proposal was unlawful. For instance, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp called the proposal unconstitutional, while Arizona House Speaker Rusty Bowers wrote that the idea would undermine the rule of law. The pressure campaign to get state legislators to go along with the scheme intensified when President Trump invited delegations from Michigan and Pennsylvania to the White House.
Either you or Speaker Chatfield, did you make the point to the president that you were not going to do anything that violated Michigan law?
I believe we did. Whether or not it was those exact words or not, I think that the words that I would have more likely used is we were going to follow the law.
Nevertheless, the pressure continued. The next day, President Trump tweeted, quote, "Hopefully the courts and/or legislatures will have the courage to do what has to be done to maintain the integrity of our elections and the United States of America itself. The world is watching." He posted multiple messages on Facebook listing the contact information for state officials and urging his supporters to contact them to, quote, "demand a vote on decertification." In one of those posts, President Trump disclosed Mike Shirkey's personal phone number to his millions of followers.
All I remember is receiving over just shy of 4,000 text messages over a short period of time, calling to take action. There was a loud noise, loud consistent cadence. So, we heard that the Trump folks are calling and asking for changes in the electors, and you guys can do this. Well, they were believing things that were untrue.
These efforts also involved targeted outreach to state legislators.
Hi, my name is Angela McCall. I'm calling from Trump campaign headquarters in Washington, D.C. You do have the power to reclaim your authority and a slate of electors that will support President Trump by President Pence.
From President Trump's lawyers and from Trump himself.
And I've become friendly with legislators that I didn't know 4 weeks ago.
Another legislator, Pennsylvania House Speaker Brian Cutler, received daily voicemails from Trump's lawyers in the last week of November.
Mr. Speaker, this is Rudy Giuliani and Jenna Ellis. We're calling you together because we'd like to discuss, obviously, the election.
Hello, Mr. Speaker. This is Jenna Ellis, and I'm here with Mayor Giuliani.
Hey, Brian, it's Rudy. I really have something important to call your attention that I think really changes things.
Cutler felt that the outreach was inappropriate and asked his lawyers to tell Rudy Giuliani to stop calling, but Giuliani continued to reach out.
I understand that you don't want to talk to me now. I just want to bring some facts to your attention and talk to you as a fellow Republican.
On December 30th, Trump ally Steve Bannon announced a protest at Cutler's home.
We're getting on the road and we're going down to Cutler. We're going to start going to offices, and if we have to, we're going to go to homes, and we're going to let them know what we think about it.
There were multiple protests. I actually don't remember the exact number. There was at least 3, I think, outside either my district office or my home. And you're correct, my son, my then 15-year-old son, was home by himself for the first one. All of my personal information was doxed online. It was my personal email, my personal cell phone, my home phone number. In fact, we had to disconnect our home phone for about 3 days because it would ring all hours of the night and would fill up with messages.
Brian Cutler, we're outside.
Clerks facing felony charges in Michigan. Poll watchers denied access.
These ads were another element in the effort. The Trump campaign spent millions of dollars running ads online and on television.
The evidence is overwhelming. Call your governor and legislators. Demand they inspect the machines and hear the evidence.
Public pressure on state officials often grew dangerous in the lead up to January 6th.
What can you and I do in the state legislature besides bill? Although we should not, I'm not advising that, but I mean, what else can you do, right?
The punishment for treason is death.
Now, this is very scary. And I would think that
fire and flood filters, I could trust that I was finding a place that felt.
I'm sorry, this is very scary. And I would think that the poll workers who don't have any type of protection, Aguna, they don't have any type of security, and they have people like that coming to their home, that's life-changing, isn't it? And isn't the January or is the January 6th committee really laying a case down totally against Trump and not necessarily those people who worked for him?
Yeah, because you know it's interesting because Trump was all against any Republican participation with this committee. He said, "Hey, we don't need any representation." You saw where the 5 names that McCarthy submitted, Pelosi accepted 3. Jim Jordan, who's probably was going to be subpoenaed to come testify, she rejected those 2 names, and because she rejected those 2 names, all 5 were not. McCarthy didn't want to put all 5 on the committee. So then you fast forward now where you're seeing all this evidence of people. These aren't Democrats. These are Republicans that are testifying and poll workers. These are elderly poll workers. I don't think of the poll worker at my precinct. You know, these are retirees. They're not trying. They're not trying to steal anything. They're trying to do their civic duty. And you see what happens when the president or the former president of the United States called this woman out by name, knowing that it was a predominantly Black precinct in Fulton County, because he knows that his supporters would try to support this conspiracy theory. Again, he knew that there was no part of election fraud. You look at all the Texas. He raised over $250 million for his defense fund, which is outside of campaign finance. So he raised all this money. Think about $250 million to all our listeners and viewers. $250 million to hire a defense attorney to find out where election fraud is and to bring up evidence. And with that $250 million, you couldn't present one lick of evidence in any of these different circuit courts around the country. Again, they knew it was fraud. They knew it was a grift, but they wanted people to be focused on that so much, more so than Trump not winning the election, because he wasn't not only qualified for president, he didn't make the case to win re-election. And these are states, even if he won Georgia and Arizona, he still would have lost. In fact, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania have more registered Democrats than Republicans. So those are states that the Democrats just had to get out the vote to win. It was no hundreds of thousands of votes that weren't counted or anything like that. So you saw what happens. And my last closing statement will be this. You saw Trump. You saw the people that Trump hired. You saw how he turned on everyone, including Mike Pence. For all you people out here who want to justify and say that Trump did this, Trump did that, these are people he knew and were close to him. What do you think he's going to do to you, the American people, who he doesn't know? He's going to do even worse to you because he's turned on all the people that were close to him.
Okay. So, Stephen, my question to you is, you see that they are showing some sort of proof that these things happen. How can you still believe that the election was stolen?
Because there's media suppression. There's rhinos. This is a kangaroo court. A lot.
How many courts? Over 60 courts.
Mute them. when the right wins
No,
2022, then we're going to have real investigations about what went on during the election and January 6th and everything else that's involved. And the funniest thing is the left is playing checkers. The right is playing chess, and y'all fell into the thing. All you're doing is alienating the American people that are decent people on the left and the right. You're alienating everybody because you got tunnel vision on Donald Trump.
Okay,
Guess what?
so I'm running out of time.
We don't care about Donald Trump. We don't need Donald
running
Trump
out of
in 2024. That's where you're screwing up.
Okay. Keith, I'm running out of time. I want to get Keith's comment.
Wait,
and
Keith,
then
wait,
Nas.
no, you can't put two crackpots on at the same time.
Keith,
you have to
We're just
give
right.
one.
We're right.
Keith,
Back to back.
You're
We're
wrong.
getting
you see the
DeSantis.
proof that
DeSantis.
the January 6th committee is providing as they lay out their case. How can you still believe that
A hot
the
turd. can be
election was
Biden.
stolen?
You should run then, Stephen. I'm just kidding.
I can't hear you, Keith. You put yourself on mute. You're not on mute.
I want the audience to acknowledge every time Stephen and I speak, we get interrupted. Every time they speak, these guys, leftists speak, Stephen and I are quiet for the most part. I've seen that happen today. Anyway, just an observation. But to answer your question, Stacey, it's interesting to note that you're only hearing one side. You don't hear any cross-examination, which is what it's supposed to be. The Constitution gives the right to bear witness with the other witnesses. In other words, you got to be able to face your accusers, and no one is facing their accusers. These people are sitting here accusing everybody, but nobody is able to face them, like Jim Jordan and so forth. Liz Cheney is a rhino. Obviously, Liz Cheney should be a Democrat, but she's a Republican by name only. So that's just an observation on that front. And to answer your question further, I would say that Dinesh D'Souza came out with a documentary that was quite factual, and people testified, but they cannot go into court because there is no court. There is no judge who wants to hear it. So all of these things are signs that our system has failed us in the Fifth Amendment, the right. No person shall be denied life, liberty, or property without due process of law. And you got people in jail sitting right now for a year and a half, and they have not had a trial. So all of that is evidence that these people are full of it.
All right. Thank you, Nas.
Yeah, so the interesting thing about this is a year ago, we were having a conversation, and I told certain people on this line that not only Liz Cheney raised her profile, but she would actually be able to move with the sensible part of the Republican Party. Now, the gentleman before me said, oh, y'all don't even see, they're playing chess. Oh, you guys so worried about Trump. Well, what you actually found out when we did the autopsy on the election was there were a lot of Republican moderates and centrists who decided they would just vote down ballot, or they decided to sit the election out because they didn't like Biden and they were tired of Trump and his antics, the lying, the stealing, the cheating, the constant gaslighting every day, the fact that the president became like this WWE sideshow. And a lot of these Republicans decided that they weren't going to come out and support, which is why you see a place like Georgia get flipped to a Dem. Like, that's a monumental loss for a Republican candidate. Like, you can't win Georgia. Texas is almost purple. Like, these are significant losses that you guys aren't willing to recognize. And then the other part now in here is the one thing the folks in the Republican sphere have figured out is this is an easy way to grift. These are people you can easily extract money from. So the constant mailer, the constant emails selling them new products will not end. So Dinesh D'Souza kind of fits that same role. He makes this BS documentary that's been debunked everywhere. Documentary is so bad, Fox won't even run it through fear of lawsuit. But he's selling it to these people for $19.99. He gets their email, and now he can do what? Grift them for years after this. You send them Stop the Steal mugs and T-shirts and caps and anything else. And you just constantly grift from this angry, aggrieved, ignorant base of people who have decided the rest of the world is cheating and throw a tantrum on every cultural event and every culture war story that gets their ire up. Like, this is who these people are. You see them on Facebook all day, liking each other's comments, gaslighting other people and wanting to fight, and argue all day. That is that is like the retired MAGAites. Like that is the majority of their, the majority of their time now. It's spent trolling people online, which is why they don't like Trump's social media outlet, because there's not enough libs to own. They can't argue with each other all day because all they have is grievance. They don't have any policies that they're interested in. All they care about is that anger and let it go.
So,
and yeah, these people are going to make a buck.
Are you better off now with Biden than you were with Trump?
So buy Dinesh D'Souza's next movie, buy Trump's next act, keep falling for it, and the rest of us are just going to laugh at you.
All right, this is our roundtable. We are out of time. Look at this and then answer the question.
Wait,
Brian Kemp, I'm so conservative. I blow up government spending. I own guns that no one's taking away. My chainsaw's ready to rip up some regulations. I got a big truck, just in case I need to round up criminal illegals and take them home myself. Yep, I just said that. I'm Brian Kemp. If you want a politically incorrect conservative, that's me.
Okay, I don't know how in the world they voted for him over Stacey Abrams. And I don't understand how in the world Stacey Abrams is running behind him now, and Senator Warnock is running behind Herschel Walker. So we're going to start the roundtable. And I'm a Republican, but I still just don't understand it. It seems it's totally among racial lines as opposed to what each candidate has to offer. So you're gonna explain to me why this is happening. We'll start with Cousin Todd. Let me finish. We'll start with Cousin Todd because he wants to add this comment in, and then we'll start the roundtable and end with Cousin Todd. So it'll be Cousin Todd first, then Keith, then Stephen, then Nas, Aguna, and then Cousin Todd again. Go ahead, Cousin Todd.
Okay. So I didn't get a chance to comment on two things. One thing is Stephen was saying, where's your proof? And their police records, and these people were recorded when they were being attacked. But it's strange how you would say, where's your proof? And these women are saying, people were attacking us. People were coming to our homes. But you don't believe them. Unless you got proof, but you don't need proof that the election was stolen because Donald Trump said so. You are a joke. Now, for this Keith talking about, nobody's on the other side. They did not show up. Jim Jordan would not show up. The Republicans did not show up. So that's why you have nobody on the other side. Remember, they didn't show up. They said
they didn't want to participate. They had the opportunity.
Wait till 2022.
So
you get
that's
slaughtered.
Why there's nobody
Wait till 2022.
Wait
till November.
You don't scare us, Stephen. We're not scared of you. We're not scared of you.
So anyway, so that's the thing. And when you hear all this evidence, how people like Stephen and Keith can just whip around it. Oh, well, the man knew he lost, but he wanted to stay in power. This is why all of these things have happened. So it's just amazing how, but then again, Donald Trump knows his audience and he knows how dumb they are and he takes advantage of them. This is why they gave him $250 million.
Okay, thank you. You can't talk forever. You're going to talk again. Sorry. Keith, can you explain why the people of Georgia...
Why don't you say that to Keith and Stephen?
No, I'm saying it to you. Keith, can you explain why the voters of Georgia would pick someone who'd have a campaign ad like the ad I just played?
He has a nice ad. I love it. I would vote for him if I was over there. Yeah, I think that because he's...
Wait. All right, look at this. You would vote for this?
Brian Kemp, I'm so conservative. I blow up government spending. I own guns that no one's taking away. My chainsaw's ready to rip up some regulations. I got a big truck, just in case I need to round up criminal illegals and take them home myself. Yep, I just said that. I'm Brian Kemp. If you want a politically incorrect conservative, that's me.
You said you vote for someone just like that. He said, yeah, I said it, and I'm a
He knows
politically
his
incorrect
audience.
conservative.
At
I mean,
the drop of a bucket, I'd
that
vote
means
for
he could say anything about and to you, Keith.
No, I'm not. First of all, I'm not an illegal alien, and I'm not an illegal
Yeah,
alien.
but he thinks you're a nigger.
Can you shut up?
Same difference.
I didn't see that in the ad.
If he's going to interrupt, we'll not get to him at the end. He won't have a chat. He won't have time.
Yeah, let's fill up.
So you better let me talk and finish. All right. I would say that yes, I would round up illegal alien criminals and send them back or take them back. I like that. I would blow up federal spending. That's too much. How do you blow it up? You stop it. That's how you do it. I would take a chainsaw to regulations in a minute, because regulations are what's destroying us. And that's what Biden is all about. And that's what Trump cut. Oh, whoa. I'm about to knock my camera off. Woo! I'm excited, man. So I would do that. Yes, I would get regulation and, take it out of the way. Yes, I would vote for that. And I just want to say that also, I guess that's about it.
Thank you.
I love it. This is
Stephen.
It's Georgia. It's not New York. I mean, people in Georgia, there's a lot of rural people in Georgia, and they appreciate something like that. And what Keith said is valid. What he said was valid. But if I could real quick, I wanted to do this in Stacey. I wanted to do this in sports. But my favorite boxer and his style is Mike Tyson. I'm his age. Ever since before he was a pro, I was a Mike Tyson fan. I learned something about him this week. I had no idea. I wondered if y'all knew. Do y'all know what Mike Tyson's brother does for a living?
What does he do?
Anybody? Because it's been kept quiet all this time. He's a brain surgeon.
Whoa!
Who knew? And they came from the projects or whatever. They were very poor. And Mike went a different way. Mike was fighting fights at 9 years old and winning fights, and they were bringing in people to fight him. So he had like 400 fights before he was even a real amateur or something. But that's why he went that way. And his brother said, he thinks his brother's kind of a strange guy. He's not. They don't run in the same circles. And I guess they tried to keep it quiet.
Steven.
I don't know, but I thought that was very interesting. And he had a sister that was a teacher, and she passed away.
Steven.
Yes,
Steven.
ma'am.
Okay, you got to finish because
I'm
we're
done.
out of time.
I'm out.
Okay, thank you. Nas.
Yeah, well, I mean, that ad kind of reflects how the game is played. Like, if you're in a racist area, you want to appeal to racists. Now, I'm not just going to throw that on the rural people of Georgia, the uneducated or poor racists who are in Georgia. No, it's also some wealthy racists in Georgia. There's some college graduate racists in Georgia. But he knew he could appeal to them in that way, and it worked for him. So that lets you know one thing. But the other part, and I just find this really, really strange, that anybody would take that as a legitimate ad for anything that wasn't like a high school election or something like that. Like, this is a legitimate election in the United States, and this grown man is tooling around in his truck, mimicking as if he's going to arrest somebody. So, it is what it is. But again, this goes back to what I was just telling y'all a few minutes ago. They realize they got a group they can riff from, and they will continue to do so. You just heard these people. Keith could barely take on the video and just said, yeah, I do it. And then he started listing the things Brian Kemp already said. And Steven started talking to Mike Tyson because he didn't want to engage. So that lets you know, man, this is the level of intellectualism over there. Sad.
Yeah, but I don't understand, Aguna, how he could still be leading Stacey Abrams and how Herschel Walker, who has no experience in public office, could be leading Senator Warnock.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to ignorance. I mean, at the end of the day, those who would watch an ad like that and take it seriously and not say, okay, how are you going to do those things? I mean, he's saying he's going to I'm going to take this chainsaw to regulations. Okay, what regulations are you talking about? What regulations in Georgia I mean, you're going to take labels off of bottles so that you don't know what's in them. That's regulation. You know, what regulations are good? Which ones you're talking about? Doesn't go into detail because, again, the base doesn't care. They just want to see a comical, you know, train wreck of a clown show of that commercial and then react to it. And again, I mean, if you go back to what's going on in Georgia around the country, you know, you hear it on this show. It's they win, you lose, we win, you lose. But what happens is America loses. There are two parties in this system, you know, and a lot of people on the show want to put a party or an idea or a side before the country. But you realize that in these elections, once you win, you have to govern. But what's happening and what the Republicans are doing, they're trying to keep power and they're trying to do this minority rule. You hear Keith on the show always say, hey, we're not a democracy, we're a representative government, right? So he's trying to justify minority rule. He's trying to say that, okay, because we have a representative democracy, then even if the majority of the public feel one way, the leaders that are elected through gerrymandering, through all these different dirty tricks, through voter suppression, through all these things, can make decisions that don't benefit you, but benefit them and keep them in power. He's okay with that as a constitutional, quote unquote, conservative, because again, he wants to keep people ignorant and he wants to take it to the libs. Nas had it completely right. It's not about policy. It's not about strong military, low taxes, limited government. It's about CRT. It's about abortion. It's about taking it to the libs, trolling them and doing all these silly things versus actually making things that move the country forward. And the country was founded on compromise. Yet somehow, some way, these clowns on this show don't want to compromise because you're called a rhino if you compromise. Liz Cheney. Keith just said Liz Cheney is a rhino. She is one of the most conservative Republicans to ever be elected. She voted against everything Obama did. I mean, it's crazy to even entertain.
Trump, yes.
It's crazy. But again, this is where we live in because she wants to elevate herself and make it about integrity, about the insurrection. It was a coup. It was a coup. That's what it was. And the guy didn't even have the credentials. But again, that's what it come down to.
All right, Cousin Todd.
You'll see. You'll see.
Listen to him. We're coming to get you because you're trying to take our guns. We're coming for you.
No, we're not.
Okay. I wanted to say about Stephen.
Put them together.
This is how Republicans know their audience. If you just listen to what Keith is saying and Stephen. Oh, well, now, first of all, Stephen said they're rural and ignorant.
No, it didn't.
And so.
No, it didn't.
This is why that commercial appeals to people like Keith. Anybody with any sense would say, wait a minute, you didn't say how you're going to govern. You didn't say what you're going to do for us. You just going to round up a bunch of illegals and I'm going to blow stuff up. And that, to a thinking person, is sheer stupidity. And so, but again, Donald Trump knows his audience, and so does this loser. And so he does whatever you want. It's just, I can't even put it into words how dumb you have to be to fall for that kind of Jerry Springer antics. But of course, smiling Keith.
White man's heaven. He's on his way to white man's heaven. Took that passport ready, Uncle Ruckus. Come on, Uncle Ruckus. Get in the white man's heaven.
Is it painful to be as racist as y'all are? Is it painful?
Yeah. That's your comeback.
Y'all are so racist.
That's your comeback. Because we're
racist.
So racist.
Is Cousin Todd finished?
Y'all are two most racist people I know.
Wait a minute, Nas. Go ahead, Nas.
No, I was just gonna say the topic was so difficult to him in condemning racism that the man started talking about Mike Tyson. That is
Mike Tyson.
All right, thank you. We are out of time. We definitely went over.
You care about women. You care about
Georgia.
Women.
I don't understand how people don't support Senator Warnock and candidate Stacey Abrams.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I just don't.
It's the D in front of their names. It's because they're Democrats. They were Republicans. They support them.
Down south where he is.
All right.
What language are you speaking?
To our first responders in our community to make our lives livable. For all that you do
Man.
and sacrificing your lives so that we are free to say whatever we choose on this show. We are forever indebted. On behalf of Aguna with an L, the Nigerian moderate Republican, Keith, the constitutional conservative, Stephen, the independent thinker,
Really?
Get a
and my
haircut, Stephen.
cousin Todd. And my cousin Todd. And thank you, Nas. He came on by calling my telephone and I put it up to the speaker. So thank you, Nas, for making a big effort to be with us. First time in quite some time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And look at this dancing machine, Keith.
He doesn't have any rhythm. You know, hey, yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, you're definitely not getting the black people heaven with rhythm like that.
But
Go on to the next door. Go on to the next door. Go next
All right,
door,
thank
man.
you. We'll see you next week. Good
Do
night.
the achy breaky next door. We're doing the electric slide over here.